The cabin lights were dim, the gentle hum of the engines filling the air as passengers settled into their seats for a long transatlantic flight. Children whispered to their parents, businessmen opened laptops, and flight attendants bustled down the aisles with practiced efficiency. In seat 4A, near the front of first class, a boy no older than 10 sat quietly by the window. His name was Jordan. He wore a navy hoodie and sneakers, his small frame pressed against the seat as he clutched his stuffed bear. The boy was calm, polite, and clearly excited to fly, but he was also shy. He avoided eye contact and kept to himself. The seat beside him was empty, waiting for his father, who was running a little late from a phone call. Jordan didn't draw much attention until a flight attendant noticed him. She was tall, perfectly groomed, and carried herself with an air of superiority. Her name was Ms. Reynolds, and she had worked for the airline for years. Some passengers described her as efficient, others whispered that she was cold. She scanned the boy with narrowed eyes, her lips pressed into a thin line. "Excuse me," she said sharply, startling Jordan. "You shouldn't be sitting here. First class isn't for children traveling alone." Jordan's eyes widened. "My dad is sitting next to me," he whispered softly. But Ms. Reynolds didn't wait for an explanation. She reached forward, grabbed the armrest of his seat, and with a sudden motion, she yanked him upright. The boy stumbled. Passengers around them gasped at the sight. A few pulled out phones, recording discreetly. And then it happened. Ms. Reynolds slapped Jordan across the cheek. The sound cracked through the quiet cabin. The boy froze, clutching his bear tighter, tears welling in his eyes. He didn't cry out, but his lips trembled. The cabin fell silent. Every passenger stared, their faces reflecting disbelief and horror. A woman in the back whispered, "Did she just hit that child?" Before anyone could react further, a man's voice broke the silence. Deep, commanding, and calm, but laced with ice. "Take your hands off my son!" All heads turned. Striding down the aisle was a tall black man, dressed in a tailored suit that fit him like armor. His presence was undeniable, broad-shouldered, strong, and carrying the weight of authority in every step. This was Jordan's father. He reached his son in seconds, kneeling beside him. He gently cupped Jordan's face, checking the red mark on his cheek. His jaw tightened, his eyes burning with controlled fury. The passengers could feel the tension ripple through the air. Ms. Reynolds stammered, "Sir, he doesn't belong here. I was just..." The father stood to his full height, towering over her. His voice was calm but cut like steel. "You slapped my child." She swallowed hard, trying to regain her composure. I thought he was in the wrong seat. I didn't know he was." The man's gaze sharpened. "You didn't know? And your instinct was violence?" Every word echoed through the cabin, heavy with power. Passengers nodded, murmuring agreement. The father placed his hand gently on Jordan's shoulder. "It's okay, son. I'm here now." Jordan leaned into him, relief flooding his small frame. Ms. Reynolds attempted to defend herself. "Sir, please, if you just sit down, we can discuss." But the father raised a hand, silencing her instantly. His presence commanded obedience. "Do you know who I am?" he asked. Her lips parted, confused. "I know, sir." He leaned forward slightly, his voice dropping so low it carried more weight than a shout. "I own this airline." The words hit like a thunderclap. Gasps erupted across the cabin. Some passengers covered their mouths. Others muttered, "No way, he's the CEO?" Ms. Reynolds blinked, her face draining of color. "Why, you're the..." He didn't let her finish. "You just assaulted the son of the man who signs your paycheck. And you did it in front of dozens of witnesses." A murmur of agreement swept through the passengers. Several phones were now recording openly. Ms. Reynolds took a shaky step back. "I didn't mean..." The father's voice cut through her excuses. "Intent doesn't erase harm." The captain emerged from the cockpit, alerted by the commotion. "Sir, what seems to be the problem here?" The CEO turned to him slowly. His words were precise, deliberate. The problem, Captain, is that your flight attendant put her hands on my child. On my son. Then she struck him. And she did it because she assumed he didn't belong here. Because she judged him by the color of his skin and the seat he was in. Gasps again. A woman in business class shouted. That's exactly what happened. Another passenger chimed in. I saw it all. The captain's face turned pale. Ms. Reynolds, is this true? She stuttered, unable to form words. The CEO shook his head, placing a protective arm around Jordan. Captain, you will remove her. Now. The captain hesitated, torn between authority and fear. But the father's presence left no room for debate. Security will be waiting at the gate. The CEO continued. She will never set foot on one of my planes again. The cabin erupted in applause. Passengers clapped, some stood, others shouted. Yes. And, that's justice. Ms. Reynolds collapsed into a seat, her face buried in her hands. She realized her career was over. The CEO knelt again beside Jordan, brushing his son's hair back gently. You okay, champ? Jordan nodded slowly, tears finally spilling down his cheeks. Yeah, Dad. I'm okay now. His father kissed his forehead. No one will ever hurt you while I'm here. The captain cleared his throat nervously. Sir, if you'd like, we can delay takeoff. No, the CEO interrupted. This plane will take off on time. But without her. Security boarded quickly, escorting Ms. Reynolds off the aircraft. She avoided eye contact, her shoulders hunched, shame etched across her face. As she disappeared, the CEO rose, addressing the passengers. His voice carried authority, but also warmth. Ladies and gentlemen, I apologize for what you just witnessed. No child should ever be treated this way. No passengers should ever feel unsafe. I promise you, effective immediately, measures will be taken to ensure nothing like this happens again. The cabin broke into another round of applause. Passengers leaned over to pat Jordan's shoulder, offering him snacks, smiles, and kind words. A woman whispered, You're so brave. A man in the back said, Your dad's a hero. Jordan clutched his bear tighter, his cheeks flushed, but a small smile crept across his face. The plane finally prepared for departure. As it taxied down the runway, Jordan leaned against his father's side, comforted by his steady presence. The CEO closed his eyes, one hand resting protectively on his son's shoulder, the other forming a fist in silent promise. A promise that no matter where they traveled, his son would always be protected. And though the flight had begun in darkness, passengers would forever remember the moment when truth, power, and justice lit up the skies. If this story moved you, don't just scroll away. Share it, so more people see what happens when courage and truth stand up against injustice. And if you believe respect and kindness should always come first, hit that like button, subscribe, and join us for more stories that shine a light on the power of justice.